Hi all, happy Friday. Thanks for those who are already in the chat. For the benefit of the audio, I am one half of the Planet FPL podcast. My name is James. Welcome to Ask James. It's Friday, April the 3rd, and I've got updated Wi-Fi, so I'm hoping for the benefit of those on the stream that this should be a lot clearer and a lot better. For those who are perhaps new to this format and might have joined in on the Champman FPL stream that I did on Wednesday night, the way this works is very simple. You guys get into the chat, ask whatever you want, football related, be it current climate. If you want to ask Champman questions, Spurs, trivia, whatever, ask it. I'll get it covered. If there's nothing in the chat, not a lot happens. So depending on how busy the chat is, this will be half hour or an hour, basically. See, we've got Brad Lewington in the comments. How are you, mate? It's his afternoon, main part of my Friday. Yeah, it nearly wasn't, Brad, because this morning I woke up. I knew I was getting, basically, I've had a new broadband for a little while, but I couldn't install it till today. I woke up this morning and my previous provider had turned off the Wi-Fi, so plugged in the new one. But my new provider was either going to basically turn it on at any point from midnight gone or midnight tonight. It's gone on about an hour or so ago, so we are good to go. And I hope, fingers crossed, do let us know in the chat, guys. Is the picture better? I'm really keen to know because my Wi-Fi should be a lot stronger. Let us know if the sound and that's okay as well. I hope some of the intermittent problems I've had as a technophobe working from home should be a lot better now. Angus McPhail's in the chat, says hello. Our friend Frode from Norway is in, says good afternoon. Hello, guys. Andy Martin, FPL tactician, Champman FPL legend is in. It says afternoon. You hear the news that Di Canio starts tomorrow. I've seen Rob Pick, the CMFPL scout master, has put some tweets out which suggest that yes, Paolo Di Canio may or may not be in the team tomorrow. It seems to suggest that there was a row behind the scenes and he could well be back in that West Ham team tomorrow. West Ham is the early 12:30 p.m. kickoff. I'm expecting a leaked team for that. Brad Lewington says, what did you score in Champman, James? And what is your overall after the first game week? I scored 60 and placed 386. I think not the worst start. No, not the worst start at all. I scored 65, so I'm joint with about 50 other people between sort of 160 and 210 or so. So quite happy with that. Brad says, picture better than normal. Not sure if that's a good thing. Should I get back from the camera? Yeah, good. I'm pleased because obviously got forced into working from home and that was a bit stuck with what I had. So it was an immediate thing to try and get the Wi-Fi sorted, but I had to sit here and wait on 2 weeks. And it's been so frustrating when there's been times where I know the Wi-Fi has been cutting out and that, etc., etc. Essentially, so I'm told by Clever Clog Suj, in terms of download speed, I should be about 37 times quicker as well. So it also means once I've done the video for this, I can convert the audio and put it up quite quickly as well. Whereas sitting here, it's taken me hours to process the thing. So everything should be a lot better. Kennethson says pictures clear. Nick Griffiths in saying afternoon. Hello. Norwich correspondent Mark FPL Badgers in. Yeah, picture sounds really good. This is good, isn't it? Can only go wrong from here. I mean, this streaming malarkey, it was never really part of the idea, but it's become a necessity, isn't it, really, in the current climate. Andrew Martin's adding to the Di Canio 100% he starts, and he should know. So confirmation out there for Paolo Di Canio owners that he will start in the Champman FPL 0102 game tomorrow. For those who haven't got a Scooby-Doo what I'm talking about, there is currently a simulation being run based on the 2001-2002 season. We've all picked about 1,500 of us or so have picked an FPL team based from that era, and it's being simulated by a computer game. Paolo Di Canio was not in the West Ham team that lost 1-0 at home to Aston Villa on Wednesday. We seem to have confirmation from our ITK that Di Canio starts tomorrow. Paul Coleman says, crap timing, mate. I'm just going out to the shop. Wish me luck. Good luck, Paul. I hope that one day you will return safely into this chat. You can, of course, catch up on the stream or the audio later if you so wish. Jeff Holt's in the chat. Afternoon, James. England trivia today. Yeah, why not? Let's have a bit of England trivia. While we're talking about England, I'll do a little reveal of next week's content because there's a little bit of England that will feature. Actually, before I do, what we've done this week. So Monday was a bit of a mad podcast, and I suggest this coming Monday will be a bit of a mad podcast. Essentially, it will be Ask Us Anything added into. Suj will obviously be doing it with me, and it will be more like the podcast format. We will certainly have a dedicated feature within that for the CM FPL game as well. Tuesday will be People's Poll. It's going to be some sort of best 11 themed again. There was joint seconds last week, so the two that finished second in the poll will go back in. We did a best ever Brits 11 abroad team on Tuesday, which I think was fun and controversial. Wednesday's quiz that just went, we did that on the FA Cup from Too Difficult It Is or It Isn't. We've got a guest on. It's going to be a complete one-off this with a guest because it's just too difficult to run really with guests on at the moment from sort of free mobile places. But basically, Suj was meant to be away next week. So I had put the feelers out months ago to get Tom Campbell at Utley TC on the show. I've had the pleasure of meeting Tom a couple of times. He's brilliant. He's known as the mayor in FPL. The cheaters called him. He's guested on a lot of pods. He's probably the one person out there that I really wanted to collab with, which we haven't. So Tom was going to come on and guest host with me. Obviously, Suj is now not away. So Tom had the idea of let's still do something, and he'd be happy to do the quiz. So that's what we're going to do. Tom's going to do the quiz next week, and we'll find out if I'm as clever as I'm sound when I'm reading the questions when I have to answer. I'm a bit nervous about it, to be honest. I have no idea on theme, anything. I'll be going in completely blind. I don't even particularly want to know either. Yesterday on the throwback, our Norwich correspondent Mark's in. We did some coverage of Norwich in the 1992-1993 season when they were favourites for the drop, but come April were top, and they were at various points during the season. To say they blew it at the end would be harsh because they somehow, no one knows how they ever really got into that position, and then had an amazing UEFA Cup run the next year. It's a really interesting background on Norwich at that time. I noticed we got a load of Ipswich followers, and they were like, sorry, James, just not listening to this one. And that's perfectly fine. Next Thursday's throwback, I can reveal, will be England's qualifying campaign for the 1994 World Cup. Do I not like that? The masterclass of shambles against Holland, Norway, San Marino and Poland. That should be some fun. Looking forward to that because it was interesting. I was watching the highlights of the game in Rotterdam, which sealed England's fate to not qualify for that tournament. And England were bloody unlucky on the night. In hindsight, I just remember the Ronald Koeman incident, which we'll talk about next week in more detail. But actually, England had chances in the game and were unlucky against what was a very good Holland side that went on to lose to Brazil in the quarterfinals in America. So that's going to be next Thursday's throwback. For those asking, I know it will come. I've not seen through the chat yet, but people have been banging on Twitter. Yes, I will stream live tomorrow as well during the Champman FPL 3 o'clock kickoffs. So I will go live on YouTube around about 2:45 p.m. to reflect on the West Ham Everton game earlier in the day, and also Newcastle's Intertoto Cup match. We'll find out if they've qualified for Europe or not, what the effects of that may be. Then there are 3 p.m. kickoffs. I'll take you through like a Soccer Saturday special through those 6 games as I did on Wednesday night. And then we should have the team news for the Manchester United Blackburn, which is the 5:30 p.m. scheduled kickoff. And we'll, at the end, I'll obviously go through the ratings, the bonus points, etc. Same as what I did the other night. I think people who came in, thanks for the feedback on it. It was a blast, man. It's had a shitload of views. More views than any other content we've done since we've been in lockdown and that. So really chuffed. So that's, people have asked, they want me to do it again. So I am going to do it again. And on Champman FPL, I suspect there will be a few questions on this. Angus McPhail says, is the best thing to do with Henry to bench him for game week 2? That was my immediate instinct, Angus, at the time. And having got through the game Wednesday night with 11 starting players, I've obviously got Nolan and Jason Yule to come back in, who can play for me this week. But I've got obviously Henry and Dabizas blank, Arsenal, Newcastle blank, so do Liverpool and Tottenham. But having given it a little bit more thought, Van Nistelrooy's effective ownership is going to be off the chart, and if he bangs, I'm in trouble. So I think, although I didn't want to make that Henry to Van Nistelrooy transfer, I regret starting with Henry now. I think it was a mistake. I think I just should have started with Van Nistelrooy, even though it would have cost me a few points in game week 1. I would have actually, in hindsight, rather that it not cost me the transfers possibly to do the hokey cokey. But actually, yeah, I think the effective ownership is going to be so high. So many people, I think half the people have got Henry are going to make that move to Van Nistelrooy. It effectively then makes him probably possibly even more highly owned. God, get your words out, James, than Ian Hart. And then if, we potentially talking about 75% ownership or something, the majority are then going to captain him as well. I mean, what kind of effective ownership is that? I just can't afford to take that risk, I think. So I'm almost definitely going on Henry to Van Nistelrooy. However, obviously we'll probably get the leak of the West Ham team. Now, you're saying Di Canio is definitely starting. I own Freddie Canute, and he also owns Shaka Hislop. So if there's any issues there, it could be that's a change. So I wouldn't say it's locked in until I've seen that West Ham team, and I suspect and sort of hope from our dear scout Rob Pick that we might get the full West Ham team prior to tomorrow morning's deadline, which has been set at 11 a.m. I think. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat there, guys. 11 a.m. deadline. So hopefully before that deadline, we'll have some news from the scout either tonight or first thing in the morning. If so, it will change. But if my two West Ham guys are playing, then I will go Henry to Van Nistelrooy. I have already bust that transfer, but obviously I can bust it back if I so need to. So I would line up Hislop, Mellberg, Hart, Gallus. Oh, sugar. Who's my other defender? Hart, Gallus, Mellberg. Oh, God. Help me out. Who's my other? Laurent Blanc, Veron, Kuehl, Malbronk, Yule, Canute, Captain Van Nistelrooy, and I'd have Kevin Nolan and Keith Gillespie in reserve. That's what I'm looking at, but some West Ham news could convince me to change my mind on that. Neil Soap is in the chat. So good afternoon, Neil. Brad Lewandon, England 11 who never actually played a game for England, James. Maybe a future people's poll. Ooh, quite like that. I can't say I've decided on the final topics, Brad, so I'm going to give that some consideration. I'm just not sure how. Yeah, I like that. I might put that in a poll, actually, Brad. I might put that in a poll. Just a bit conscious of doing two completely England. If that gets voted in, then that's two completely England-focused themes for the week, considering we're obviously going to do one on Thursday now as well. But I'll give that some thought, Brad. I like that. It's a good shout. Paul Coleman, thanks. Have my headphone in. Hope the 4G holds out. I do too. So far, so good, Paul, I hope. Joe Finley Badders I'll do a bit of a spoiler here. Joe Finley Badders says, Kevin Prince Boateng still keeping me up at night. A lot of people might think that's quite weird. If you've listened to or played the quiz from Wednesday, maybe don't put Kevin Prince Boateng as any of your answers, like I think a lot of people may have done for one of the questions that I asked. And I knew that a lot of people would put Kevin Prince Boateng as the answer. And it amused me inside, I'm not going to lie. Brad has an idea for a trivia pod. Brighton staying up in the last few games at the Goldstone, and then our owners selling the stadium, then playing home games at Gillingham and fighting government for the Amex. I wouldn't rule that out, Brad. Our Norwich correspondent Mark messaged me after we released the one on Leeds from 91-92 last week, and I think he figured we might do something for 92-93. And he said, "Oh, you could do us." And I just messaged him back and I said, "It's already decided, mate. Yeah, it's happening." So yeah, Brighton's a really interesting one. I remember that. I think it was 97, wasn't it, Brad? When you beat Doncaster at home and then got the 1-1 draw at Hereford. There's a very long catalogue to that story. I'm just not convinced whether it will interest the general listener enough. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but people do remember Norwich in the Premier League. The majority of people won't remember Brighton 22 years ago struggling to stay up. And I think if I do Brighton, then I'm going to do Bournemouth. I'm not too sure that's what everyone wants from a content point of view. But Yeah, have a look at Brighton's. I think it was 96, 97. There's some good stories behind there. I saw Joe from Scout posted a really fascinating article, which you'd like, Brad, about a game between Brighton and Manchester City in what would have been Division 2 then, now the Championship, from the late 80s. And this 41-year-old ball boy who got sacked for essentially kicking the ball away in added time. It's a very amusing story. You would like that, Brad. Have a look at FF Scout Joe's timeline. You'll find that. Andrew might say, loving the new Wi-Fi. So am I, Andrew. At my end, until I look back on it, I don't know if it's good or bad, but yeah, I'm really pleased. It's been really frustrating for me seeing a lot of comments lately going, "Oh, change your Wi-Fi" or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it was shit, nothing I could do. I'm glad as well that it was today on a Friday, because it could have potentially harmed one of the pods. Whereas, with respect, if I'd have lost the video for this one, I had to do it later, wouldn't have necessarily been the end of the world. Also, Recluses is going to roll this week. That'll be for Champ Man. Jeff Holt is in with the trivia by the looks of it. I heard, Jeff, that you had good fun with the Wildcats on the quiz last night. I can't say I've listened yet, but feedback's been good. Good job. Well done there, mate. In major championships, European Championships and World Cup, England have taken 40 penalties in shootouts. How many is it and by whom? I presume you mean missed and by whom. All right. I can't fit the ones from open play that were missed. Doesn't. I'll go through the shootouts. So Italian 90 was Stuart Pearce, Chris Waddle. That's 2. Let's see if I can count these. Euro 96, Gareth Southgate. 98 was Paul Ince, David Batty. What are we on to now? 2006, it was Lampard, Gerrard, Carragher. What's that, 8? Oh, I've missed 2004, haven't I? Vassell and Beckham. That's 10. What other ones have we had? Jordan Henderson against Colombia, 2011. 2011, listen to me, 11. Have I missed any in there? Did we not have a penalty shootout of 2006 to 18? Oh, Italy, 2012. Ashley Cole, Ashley Young. It's 13. That's it for shootouts. Have we missed penalties in games in major tournaments? I'm just trying to have a quick think through my brain. Beckham against France, 2004. I think that's probably it. So I'm going with 14, Jeff. Patrick Lawson says, sure, someone already asked, but what was your Champ Man game week 1 score? It did, Patrick. It was 65. I was quite pleased with that. So it's a decent enough start. That's why I feel like I've got to go with Van Nistelrooy as well for the effective ownership on it for this week. Also Recluse, yes, 11. I don't know what's inferable to, mate, but go. Oh, your deadline at 11, as Andrew Martin said. Yep, cool. He also says, love your Mal Bronk pick. Wish I started with him. It was actually the only player to score for me in the simulation. So to end up with a 65 was great. Obviously, I had the captain assist returns from Henry. I had clean sheet from Melberg, clean sheet Ian Hart. So I had ticking over points. A lot of my guys who would have been 2-pointers in FPL were picking up 4s and that, which is good. So I feel like I've done a bit of research into guys who could well be rated quite highly from the friendlies and that. I didn't sim the game like so many others have done. So yeah, quite pleased with the start. Elite FPL in afternoon, James. Hello, guys. Hope you're well. I don't know if it's Steve or Jace, but hope all's well, guys. Get all your mates in the chat like you did before. It was good crack. Sultan Said says, good afternoon. Amber Redmond, is there gin in that glass? No, there isn't. It is genuinely just water. It is all I've been drinking since I've been home, other than the couple of cans that I had for the stream on Saturday. And I will bring the cans back out for that stream tomorrow. I think while I do them, let's make it a religion that I'll have a couple of beers while doing it. It's a bit of fun. Fuck it, relax, enjoy myself. I can't promise, guys, on the streams during the 3 p.m. or 8 p.m. midweek, whatever they are, I can't promise that I'll keep doing them, but I will do it again Saturday. We'll see where we stand. if the Wi-Fi is going to hold up better, as it seems like it is, then I'm really happy to keep doing it as well. We'll see how it plays out. It feels like there's a demand at the moment for me to do it. People are enjoying it. A lot of people saying they had me on while they had the Twitter feed going, etc. And that's good. We're obviously all delighted with the work that Andy, James and Dave are doing for the game. They're doing a brilliant job. I'm just adding to the content a little bit. I have no association with them. I saw so many comments going back to the Champman FPL account saying great stream as well. I'm like, hello, it's me. It wasn't them. But yeah, that's really cool. Jeff Holt is saying perfect. So I'm guessing that 14 that I've got there is bang on the money. I don't mind a bit of trivia for myself. Elite saying impressive. Nick Griffith saying impressive. That Andrew Ferguson, hey James, did you play Championship Manager 0102 at the time? I'm 95% sure that I did, Andrew. I certainly was playing it around that era. It's possible that I might have been playing a previous version rather than that exact one, but I'm pretty sure I bought a few in a row, Andrew. So yeah, pretty confident that I did. Elite is Jason in the chat. Hello, Jason. I hope you're well, mate, from Elite FPL. Jeff Holt says, thank you for shout out for quiz. Really enjoyed that. Would love people to have a look and feedback, scores, comments. Yeah, great. You know, the Wolfpack did a great quiz last week as well. You know me, I will promote anybody's content, particularly at this time. It's really important that we give shout outs to each other. You know, my Fulham correspondent, Dara at the Tinkerman, is going to be on this surgery next week, FPL surgery. They're going to be doing a special on championship clubs at the moment, which is really great. It's something I'll really look forward to that. It'll be something a little bit unlike what the surgery have done before in terms of love the Iceman and Bully and that. And there was a brilliant guest on the surgery. They were very FPL focused. So really fascinated to see if they still approach it as, are they interested in championship assets that could potentially be FPL, or if they venture out into just a general chat, because I've had the pleasure of meeting the Iceman and he took football with you all night. So I'd love to see the guys do that a bit. So yeah, I look out for that one. As I said, our Fulham correspondent Dara at the Tinkerman is going to be on that with a couple of other guys as well. Elite FPL, Jason's in the chat saying, enjoyed the quiz, Jeff. Can't get that City full of horse shit out of my head. Wow, sounds like I need to listen to this. Amber Redmond says, has anything about the behaviour of our players, clubs, organising bodies during the lockdown surprised you? Thank you, Amber, because I could see the chat was running a bit dried out, and so I was going to start talking about this anyway. So a lot of you will have seen some of the news that's come out over the last 24 hours. We know, just to cover off what's happening in Belgium at the moment. So the Belgium FA have announced that their season is now essentially void, but they are going to award Club Bruges the Belgian title, and 2 teams from the league below are going to get promoted, and they're going to have 2 extra teams in their league next year. Now, where there's a couple of really convenient reasons why the Belgian FA have been able to do this rather than say us just giving the title to Liverpool and doing similar. One is their league titles is, as I mentioned this a little bit on the end of yesterday's podcast, basically, once the league games are done, then they go into a playoff system, which actually decides the overall champions. A little bit like English people may be familiar with rugby league set up, the Super League, and how they finish with a playoff system to get a Super League winner. It's a little bit similar to that. And so they've obviously cancelled the playoff format. In the actual league format itself, Bruges were 15 points clear with 1 game to go. So it essentially won that. So I think on merit, you can say, yep, champions done. Really interestingly as well, the Belgian FA are starting with a brand new TV contract for their Jupiter Pro League beginning August. And I think they felt that it was more important to get that in place right for August rather than the 1 game, 10 or 9 games, however many games left from that 1 round of weekends to get those completed. So it's influenced, unfortunately, by money, as so much as will RB. Now, money's in the conversation because obviously it's mentioned from Parliament yesterday that Premier League players should be doing more. Now, I think we can probably all agree that Premier League players should, yes, be deferring wages in some way, whether it be to their clubs, whether it's to help finance lower league clubs, NHS, whatever. There's a number of things guys in there. I don't have Paul Pogba, for example. I shouldn't even use an individual player. But if he's on £300 a week, he really doesn't need £300 a week while he's kicking the ball around and filming Instagram videos and stuff, right? Doesn't need that at the moment. He can do without it. And the same goes for, Harry Kane at Spurs, £200 a week. Mesut Ozil was similar at Arsenal. There's so many cases everywhere, right? The issue is it's murky because each club and players will have their own individual contracts. Some players have goal bonuses in their contracts. Some players won't. Some have bonuses based on where their club is finishing in the league. It's so many different things. And once you bring the agents into play, it's awful because the agents won't give a shit. I don't care to give them a bad name. I think that's fine. Come and hunt me down. They'll want their slice of the pie, right? Because no money from players means no money for agents at all, right? So that's their take. And I understand they want their take, but they're taking enough out of the game that we love already. Far too much, in fact. And I really hope that on the other end of this, we can get some governance restriction from a UEFA or a FIFA on actually what agents earn, because it's disgraceful the amount of money that actually leaves football and goes into these people's pockets. But supply and demand, right? Players can't moan about players' wages. They get paid it, right? There's no restriction on it. And therefore, agents are going to take their slice of the cake to do whatever they can to make life easy for their assets, if you want. As I think Mino Raiola described Paul Pogba, wasn't it? An asset. He didn't actually call him a player or a human being. So it's really murky. And I have a theory on this in terms of what Daniel Levy said. Now, I obviously know Daniel Levy better than most, not personally, but I obviously follow him and his comments. And I know when he's telling the truth and I know when he's bullshitting. On this occasion, I'm not sure, but I do have a theory. So Daniel Levy's come under mass criticism because Spurs have put 550 non-playing staff on furlough. That includes himself, is taking a 20% wage cut. It was unfortunate for Daniel as well that Tottenham's finance figures, which I'd put in the People's Poll a couple of weeks ago, came out very recently. Daniel's given himself a nice £3 million bonus as the club reached the Champions League final and excessively won out on profit again because of the run to the Champions League final. Spurs have had 3 of the 5 biggest ever financial net profit results in the history of the Premier League, which is why a lot of Spurs fans are now beginning to get very frustrated, and obviously frustrated with this news. So there's a tweet yesterday that Spurs put out, and it was a clip from a League Cup tie with Brighton a couple of years ago. Lamela and Harry Kane scored. Go and look through the comments in it. Basically, every comment, it just goes, pay your staff, pay your staff, pay your staff, pay your staff. That's all the fans just going in, pay your staff, pay your staff, pay your staff. Been a mass backlash to this idea that the players are still on full pay, etc. I think that Daniel Levy knew that he was going to get this sort of backlash. And I think, like when he threatened to go to Stratford, it was to put pressure on Haringey Council to get the planning application right and ready for the new stadium. I think that Daniel Levy is playing his poker cards here and he's bluffing and he's forcing the players in. I think he's making the players look bad. I think he's happy in the short term to make the club look bad. Daniel Levy will do what's best for Tottenham Hotspur. So if he can take free government money, I agree it's not right, but he'll take it because it's financial in the pocket for Tottenham Hotspur, which then helps the staff, etc. So I think he's bluffing. And I think he's putting all the pressure on the players to say, well, look what you've made me do. This is what I've had to do with the staff. Because the players now, I've seen an interview with Andros Townsend this morning, and he's quite right, Andros, who's now at Palace, highlighting great things. Like Marcus Rashford's raised like £400,000 or something. And Marcus Rashford could probably write 2 weeks of his wages and write a cheque for that. I get that. But he's actually done the work out there himself. It's all through himself rather than the club, etc. So there are players out there doing great things at the moment. I think we will see players en masse take wage cuts or refer money to be it the NHS or to defer wages. Loads of ways it can be done. I'd say give them a week or so, and I think we'll see some positive news on that. That's my feeling. I think players obviously get a bad rep anyway because of the money they earn. Yeah, as soon as anyone's doing shit, I mean, it's fair to say, even if we talk about like Ozil on the stream and we take the piss out of him, on the podcast, we find it very difficult not to mention his salary and his wages. So we just do that naturally anyway. And he gets associated with it. Every time Mesut Ozil doesn't put the effort in, we go, and yeah, Mesut Ozil, 300 grand a week for that. So players do get the bad rep because of the money they earn. They're obviously incredibly lucky. Yes, it's short careers, although I'd suggest in those short careers, they earn a lot more than, I mean, even a very well-earned person will earn in 30, 40 years. They'll earn it in 5, 10 years. So I think they'll know they want to help. It needs to be joint decisions, though, and I think it needs to come from leaders within. If it's going to be by clubs, it needs people like Harry Kane at Spurs to step forward and go, get the team together, him and Hugo Lloris, and say, this is what we're going to do. There's other clubs who can do similar and take the leads. I think managers really should be taking the leads here as well. I've seen, obviously, Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, Graham Potter at Brighton. They've kind of taken the lead from their clubs by saying, yeah, they're obviously going to defer wages, etc. So it needs the top people within the clubs, unless there's going to be something joint. There is the PFA put a statement out last night saying, denying that they would block wage cuts. I don't see how they can. This is a global catastrophe, basically, and anything that's written in the books previously, for me, should go out the window. But I believe the PFA are trying to organise something joint. The issue is what they want to do, and they need to think clever about this. They're trying to structure something. Now, the PFA, remember, will not just look after Premier League players, they'll look after all down to the EFL, etc. as well, Professional Footballers Association. They want to set something in blanket. So if everybody's taking a 20% wage cut, then everybody's taking a 20% wage cut. And that will go down from top earner in the Premier League all the way down to lowest earner in League Two. I think the Premier League here should be a separate entity. I think Championship clubs should be a separate entity. League One, League Two. The Premier League, I think, can do something joint. I think percentage-wise is probably the right way to do it. And like I said, I do think we'll get some news on that, where players will be on mass deferring wages. They're not stupid. They've seen that Barcelona and Juventus have done it. There's not. I don't think there's a way now that they can't. So I do think that will happen. Anyway, that's my thoughts on what will happen with salaries, etc. Also, Recluse, going back to Champman FPL, says, I chose Poyet over Malbronk. Yeah, I wasn't keen on Spurs picks. You'll know that. Jason from Elite FPL says, did you hear about this apparent story of them playing the Premier League games in China? Yes, I have seen that story. I've seen it this morning. I saw it first muted a few days ago as well. Can't see that happening. Purely on a basis that I can't see where players, let's say they go and play all the league games in 3 weeks, which is actually probably viable if you take whole squads out there, for example. Who wants to be away from their family for 3 weeks at the moment? For those who are, take players who are perhaps stuck at home with just the wife at the moment. They wouldn't want to leave her for 3 weeks. So I think there's personal sense. I just can't see that. Really, really can't. I think it's desperate. I think at that point we have to start going, it's desperate. It looks like behind the scenes UEFA are starting to put some sort of timetable together, which is starting to look realistic. I'm not saying it will happen, but the idea of completing domestic campaigns in July feels like something that's worthwhile to try and target. And then let's just see where we are. I know a lot of people think that football shouldn't even really be spoken about in terms of knowing where we are. And we obviously, nothing can happen until we flatten the curve, etc. But I think these talks do have to happen. There's got to be enough resolution. You guys are talking about it in the chat. I'm talking about it. So people do want to know what's happening with their football and that. So it's got to be some sort of resolution. That's why I think these talks do have to happen. And I think slowly we'll get somewhere in terms of knowing what we look like. It looks like behind the scenes, the talk now is nothing before July. And that's sensible. Like, just put this back further, man. People are going to need to listen to Kevin De Bruyne yesterday. He's saying in an interview about, like, he can't just go and play. He needs 3 weeks at least to, like, get up to fitness again and stuff. So there's only so much you can do on a bike inside your own house, etc. So Leozzi 2, yes, Jason. Jeff Holt in Spain 82. which 2 subs came on with 30 minutes to go for England v Spain. It's a little before my time, Jeff. I'm 99% sure that Kevin Keegan was one of them. I think Trevor Brooking might have been the other. Oh gosh, 3 keepers in the 82 squad. I wouldn't have a clue, Jeff. It's before my time. Peter Shilton, I assume, was one. Really don't know that one, mate. Rob Pick, afternoon, mate. What do you make of the incident between Di Canio and Julian Dix and the subsequent targeting of FPL Irons drama? Well, your tweets, mate. So you've started it, so it's your fault. Tim Shannon, can you give me a birthday shout out for tomorrow? Had the day planned for Chelsea match and Grand National, but that's all gone to shit. To top it, I'm missing fantasy footy. Well, Tim, I can't help you with the other stuff, but happy birthday for tomorrow. You are a Chelsea fan, so that's as much as you get. Although then he adds, these podcasts and live shows are the only thing keeping me sane. Keep it up, mate. Yes, shall do, Tim. Jeff Holt, stop with the 1982 shit, man. It's before I'm born. Which Brighton player who later played for Luton was in the Top of the Pops video for the official England squad but didn't make the final squad? Extra point to name the song and for 5 for B. So I ain't got a clue, mate. And also, don't care, Jeff, with respect. Also, Recluse, will players struggle for fitness when football returns? The standard could be way down. A lot of injuries may happen. Yep, exactly kind of what I just said with KDB. Football is not just going to restart. If for some reason this pandemic in 2 weeks, it looks like the curve is flattened and for whatever reason it's calming down, you still ain't getting football for 6 weeks. And that would be if we were in a good position in 2 weeks, which we know that we're not going to be. So start putting realistic timelines on this. It was really interesting what Levy said in a previous comment earlier on the Spurs website last weekend about people need to understand the gravity of what is happening in the world. And when he was saying it, he was referring to big money transfers in the world. So I'm seeing all this stuff about Jadon Sancho day in, day out about going to Manchester United or not going. And he may well go. And Manchester United might be the lucky ones who can still afford to go, yeah, there's 100 million for Sancho or whatever. Most clubs are not, man. No. Oh, what's happening with the transfer window? There ain't going to be many transfers. People ain't forking out the money. This is going to change football as we know it. Financially, the game could look very different. I think it's feasible we're in a position now where, say, that Neymar transfer fee record, where we kind of was joking a couple of years ago saying, well, first £1 billion footballer is probably 10 years away. Well, I think now looking at it going, that Neymar transfer record will stand for a very, very long time. I wouldn't be surprised if it stands for 15 years or so. Because clubs are just going to be looking at it differently now. They really, really are. This is going to be a shock to them. There's some Premier League clubs that are going to suffer. If you take Spurs with the £1 billion they've spent on the stadium, etc., you've got to repay the payments on the stadium. I'm sure as with the assets they've got, there's no problem. Banks will help them out, whatever the links they've got with HSBC on the loans, etc. There won't be too much of a problem, but there's some clubs are really going to struggle. Levy basically says the Spurs won't be buying anyone with a transfer window. And I think that's going to be the case for many other clubs as well. Alex Turner said he had a look for Suj's team in the Champman League table, but couldn't find it. Please tell me he had a valid team. He had a valid team, Alex, but just didn't have many valid players. I think he ended up with 8 or 9 starters. Suj got 50. So he didn't have a disaster. If you look in the league table, you find him is around about 850th, but he got 50. I can confirm. I will remind him to do something with his team tomorrow. Flapjack's in the comments. Says, hello, James. Don't normally get to watch this. Benefit of lockdown. Yes, mate. Martin Boyle, PFA need a sliding tackle. 20% off the wages of those on multiple tens, hundreds of thousands per week is a hell of a lot more manageable than for those on a comparative few thousands. Of course it is. It's exactly what I've said, Martin. They're trying to look at a blanket. You just can't judge Premier League players in the same way you judge League Two players. When Suj and I did last week, and it's worth listening back to, when we did our podcast on the National League and looking at the finances there, actually the recurring theme once we'd done the research on it was actually that a lot of the non-league clubs might be all right, and it actually might be clubs more around League One level that are more in trouble. So you just can't put that scale into place. I think you can for a blanket Premier League. And then I don't know, perhaps the the best way to look at it is to look on individual cases lower down in terms of their turnover, perhaps the amount of money they're predicting their losses. One of the good things all the National League sides did was they've all individually predicted the amount of money they would lose out on, say, avoided football season and no gates till July, August or whatever. So they've all submitted that. These bigger clubs should be doing exactly the same and working out exactly what they're going to lose out financially. I mean, some of the bigger clubs, it's monstrous. I can say now that Spurs not completing their remaining, I think it's 5 home games left, is about £25 million. It's not a joke. Serious amount of money. And so it's going to impact different people at different levels. Now, Spurs can afford 25 million. They can just go and throw that away on a Musa Sissoko or something, right? But it's a lot of money, isn't it? Let's be honest. Jeff Holt says, before your time, perfect on the subs, goalkeeper Shilton, Ray Clements, a should have guy, actually, Joe Corrigan, and Steve Foster was the Brighton one. He was the guy with the headband, wasn't he? I think, Jeff. Rob picked 12 players have worn the number 11 shirt for Spurs in the Prem. Can you name them? Oh, Jesus. Rob, you son of a gun. Paul Allen was the first one. Although I don't know if Paul Allen had a squad number of number 11 because he went to Southampton around about the time that squad numbers came into play. But I'm going to go Paul Allen. Ronnie Rosenthal. I think. Yeah, I think. Chris Armstrong, I'll go for. Sure, Chrissy Armstrong wore 11 for a while. Oh, man. 12 players. You've picked a bloody good number there, Rob. So Armstrong would have worn it till Sergei Rebrov, 2000-ish. Rebrov was there for a few years. Oh, no. What a nightmare. 04-05s. Michael Brown, I think, was an 11. I might have missed someone out in between. Michael Brown, I think. Was he 6, then 11, or 11, then 6? This is shit for the audio, isn't it? Sorry, guys. Going on a few years. 11s for Spurs. Did Dalmat wear 11 on a loan? Possibly. I'm not sure if he did or he was around about there. Might have been on a loan, Stefan Dalmat. 2010-ish. Mido changed to 11. That's about 07-08. Yeah, Mido was an 11. There's someone I think I've missed in there between Michael Brown and Mido, maybe. Oh, God, 2010 team. We wore 11. We have Defoe, Pav, Crouchy up front, Robbie Keane, Bale, obviously Modric, Huddleston, Palacios came in, Asaplado and Lennon. Maybe there wasn't one. I'm going to come back to that if that's all right, Rob, and just go for another couple while I come back to it. Amber Redmond, what's the most stupid idea you've heard around restarting voiding because of coronavirus? That April the 30th is a realistic date, which it obviously isn't. I don't know. I think it's difficult to actually say most stupid ideas. I mean, the China one sounds ridiculous to me. I just can't see that. But I can understand the idea to try and explore possibilities, because while we're all sitting there and we're going, these guys shouldn't be worrying about money, the financial implications of not finishing this football season are huge. Potentially damages to the tune of 1.2 billion. It's monstrous. Whereas, even finishing the season behind closed doors, yes, it's going to cost clubs a couple of $100 million, but we're talking about £1 billion difference between finishing the season or not. And that's why, particularly in the Premier League, they are so desperate to finish it, and then they'll want to oblige by all their commitments for TV sponsorship, etc. next year. And if they have to lose out on bits on the domestic cups, that's where they'll least get hurt money-wise. So whether we like it or not, money, unfortunately, is going to play a massive impact into this. And it's sad. But we've all known this for a long time, that football is completely dictated by financials now. and we'll still back it, don't we? I still put my money in my pocket and pay 60 odd quid a week to go to Spurs. So it's all our fault as well. We pay for it. We pay for these sky high prices, etc., through be it our television, our go into games, all the merchandise we buy, which then allows the broadcasters, the sponsors, etc., which then allows these players money, etc. And we get nice, shiny new stadiums like Spurs, etc. Our friend Dan, FPL chances in the chat. Hello, mate. Scored 54 first week chat, man. That's fine. Still can't believe Craig Burley got dropped after that storm in pre-season. He's going for Kinsella now. I'm not sure I'd bang out that transfer actually, Dan. Yeah, Craig Burley basically played 6 games in pre-season. I think he got 5 goals and 2 assists. And then Derby played a 3-man centre midfield in the simulation. He won one of them. No explanation for that. It's worth saying Kinclardy's injured as well. I know it doesn't replicate his position, Dan, but they could well change. We know there's going to be rotation anyway, so don't expect that same midfield 3 for Derby to play again in game week 2. So, but Kinsella's a decent shout, so they've got double game week and game week 4 as well. Rob Pick saying great shout on Dalmat. Yeah, I don't know where in my brain that came from. I'll come back to you, Rob. Jeff Holt, back-to-back penalty shootouts. Of the 27 that were scored, how many players scored 3 out of 3? What's that for, Jeff? Paul Coleman, shopping update. Made it to the till. Social distancing complied with. Good man, Paul. But you sure while you're messaging in the chat and watching me that you're not bumping into people and stuff? Be careful, man. It's scary out there. Auto recluse. This could now be a reason to redesign the League Cup permanently. I wouldn't be surprised if the League Cup doesn't return ever. Rob Pick, just for when you come back to it. Alan, Rosenthal, Armstrong, Brown, Dalmat, Meadow, Reboff, all correct. 5 to go, I believe. All right. Okay. I might need to go in reverse order here. Who wears 11 for Spurs now? That'd be good if I could get that. Have we got an 11 now, Rob? I feel like we haven't. Rob Picks is best 5.5 million midfield option. Chapman, FPL. Stephen McPhail is 5 million is the best option. Come down 0.5. I think now we've seen him play that game week 1. I'm very much interested. He's on my radar. I'm not going to force it, but he's on my radar. Jeff Holt says scored 50 in Chapman FPL. Di Canio, looks like we know Di Canio will start in that simulation tomorrow. Well, I need to get these Spurs players tonight. Spurs players wearing 11. Oh, man. My older memory is so much better than my newer memory, Rob, honestly. I have to skip to Pochettino team, I think. Who was up front in that team? Kane, Soldado, Adebayor. Full of shit, wasn't it? God, we had some crap players. I can't think of any, Rob. Oh, Lamella. Eric Lamella. Thank you, Walter Reclose. Yeah, I love Eric. I mean, I noticed, I've seen Eric Lamella posting quite a few videos on his Insta and stuff. He seems to, I'm saying don't help him. It's true, I don't normally need the help. Yeah, he looks absolutely fit, Lamella. As soon as we play football again, you can bet your life that he won't be. I can't think of number 11s, Rob. I can't think. Having complete blanks. How about Bale? Bale was quite an important one, wasn't he? He only wore 11 for the one season, didn't he? So I feel like I must be missing someone in between now. Maybe I'm not. I'm not sure. I feel like we've had some ropey 11s, some really, really ropey 11s. Jeff Holt says, England penalty shootouts, 40 taken, 13 missed. Of the other 27, how many players scored all 3 they took? Oh, okay. I understand the question now. So you probably need people who played 90, 96 and 98. Was there any scored all in? No, Lineker, Platt, Beardsley. No, so no one from 1996. Oh yeah, David Platt. David Platt would have been 1, scored 3, 90 and quarterfinal and semi-final in 1996. So anybody else in 98 to 81? So Shearer must be another one. Spain, Germany 96, and then Argentina in 98. England's other penalty scorers were Merson and Owen. So that would rule them out. Then we have to go on to 04. Does anyone play 04, 06 and 10? Rooney wouldn't have taken one in 04. He wouldn't have been on the pitch in 06. The only player that scored for England in the penalty shootout in 2006 was Owen Hargreaves. That can't be right. No, that can't be right. Owen Hargreaves wouldn't have taken one in 2012, I don't think. Surely. Wasn't in the squad then. It can't have been. You can't see that. Michael Owen. What did Michael Owen? Trying to think. No, Owen obviously would have been injured against Portugal in 2006. He would have been 98 and 2004. So I'm not sure. Tell us the answer there, Jeff. I'm not convinced on that one. Not convinced at all. Ultra Recluse says Lamela always looks a great player, but seems to fade out of games for some reason. Really like Eric Lamela. I told you so many times, Tottenham can only press when he plays, and we're so much better as a pressing team, although we don't have the bodies to press in the way that we had done in previous years. Rob picks is 2010 to 2012 and 2008 and 2009. 1999 to 0. Who's that? 1999, so before Rebrov. And he was there for 1 year. Oh, that's really ugly, Rob. And 08-09 was just 1 year as well. That's also ugly. That could be one of a number of shit players we bought at the same time we bought Modric. Dos Santos wasn't 11, I don't think. Don't think so. Was it Dos Santos? Giovanni Dos Santos, maybe? Let us know, Rob. 10 to 12. Complete. Oh, Rafa. Loved Rafa. It's easy. My brain struggles with the easier ones. Really, really does. Rafa van der Vaart. What a terrific footballer he was. FPO Lucky FPO. Hey, mate. Hope you're well. Who are the 4 players who played in the Milan Derby, the Manchester Derby, and El Clasico? Christ. Anelka's got to be one, is he? Did Anelka play in the Milan Derby? Probably not. Ibrahimovic, certainly. He's played for 4 of those clubs, I think, hasn't he? So Ibrahimovic is definitely one. Tough that. Tough. I'm happy to let people answer that in the chat. 4 players to play in the Milan Derby, the Manchester Derby, and El Clasico. Rob Pick says, those are your well done on Bale. Nobody's heard of him, obviously. He says, hint, which doesn't help you. One of them is my fave Spurs player ever. It probably doesn't. I'm guessing that was then Rafa, Rob. Jeff Holt, correct answers, Platt and Shearer, only 2 to score all 3. Oh, was I looking for a third that don't exist? Oh, right, yes, it was only 2. Okay, that's why I couldn't think of a third. Auto Recluse, instant playing in El Clasico, did he? Didn't play in Spain, only for Inter Milan. Right, I will start wrapping this up, guys. So, yeah, put your answers in quick for the chat. Thanks for joining me in. A little bit of light relief on your Friday. What will be more entertaining, I suspect, for those playing Champman FPL, I will stream live tomorrow from some point between 2:30 and 2:50 p.m. right up until 5 o'clock live. I'll bring the beers. We'll talk that. Me and Suj will be back as per normal on Monday. I wish you all a great weekend, guys. Stay safe. Be nice to each other. DMs open. Thanks for joining the chat. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care for now.